Welcome to the Global Queens podcast. Today, we're exploring resilience and the often overlooked power of the pause. I'm joined by Joyce Stanley, consultant social worker and director of Chosen. Joyce believes that moving forward isn't about rushing ahead. It begins with the courage to stop, reflect, and truly acknowledge what has happened. In this conversation, we'll explore well-being through the lens of resilience and healing. Joyce, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Awesome. Your work centers on the journey of resilience. What does resilience truly mean to you, and what first led you to this path?
Well, I think like everybody else, resilience is the ability to be able to bounce back. So bounce back from the challenges, bounce back from the struggles, back bounce from whatever it is that, facing. And I think for me as well, that's what it means. In recent times, I've realized that it's more than just being able to bounce back, because sometimes people can bounce back, but they've not truly dealt with the reasons that led them to dip in the first place. And so there is this mask that is underneath, and we keep going and we keep going and we're adding more layers to it until we can't add any more on because it's full. There is no more space to put any more mask on. And then all the masks that you've put on just fall out at once. And so for me, it's the ability not just to bounce back, but the ability to be able to think about what got me to dip in the first place, deal with that, and then bounce back. Because I know once I do bounce back, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to have patches
Yeah.
lingering about that I have to keep filling up.
That's a very important point you've made because I'm just thinking, they do say we as humans and women, we're like onions with lots of layers. But then what layer is beneath the one you're showing? Could it be a mixture of amazing stuff and a lot of things that you've had to hide and you've not really dealt with? And it's more the emotional stuff and the stuffs you've not been able to, I would say, disentangle so
Yeah.
you can process and know who you are in that space. So you
Yeah.
can put on a new layer that is much more resilient, but with less of the other stuffs that you couldn't correct in
Yeah.
your past. So you've really touched on something important because I love the idea of the onions and you kind of mentioned it like the layers. But what layer have you built on top of the other? What is it that you're hiding in there?
Yeah. And it's getting all of that off. Because the
Yeah.
weight, as you are growing, as life is happening, and life will always happen, it gets heavier and heavier. And,
Yeah.
a lot of people are just carrying so much. And oftentimes people don't realize it until they've got into the age where now they're supposed to be relaxing, retiring, enjoying their kids, enjoying the fruits of their labor. And then, boom, you're hit with an illness or you're
Yeah.
hit with a mental health challenge, and you're wondering, where did this come from? It came from the fact that you've mastered the art of getting back up, but you've not mastered the art of just pausing.
Yeah.
You've not mastered the art of realizing that, hey, something needs to give. And what is that? I need to let that weight down.
Thank you so much. So you emphasize that we cannot move forward until we pause and recognize what has happened. Why is that pause so essential and what does it look like in real life?
So recently, my life got disrupted in ways that I did not think was possible, because I am one of those people that is like, get on with it, just do it. No excuse, no time wasting. Just get on with it. Whatever you're feeling, do it. But I found myself being disrupted in a very rude way, and I could not do anything about it. I physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually at some point could not do anything about it. I could not move. I could not function. I had to just, the only thing I had was to pause. That was the only thing. And in that, I discovered the importance of just accepting that I
Yeah.
had to just sit with whatever it was that I was feeling, sit with whatever it is I had been feeling that I didn't deal with, sit with the fact that I can't do anything right now. The Joyce that would get up and still do couldn't do.
Hmm.
And it wasn't because I didn't want to. Everything inside of me wanted to, but the abilities, the capacity that I needed
Yeah.
was nowhere to be found. And so the only thing I had was to pause, and I had to embrace that. And in embracing that, I realized that I had to start talking to myself. Like, what is going on with you, girl? What is
Yeah.
happening? Why are you stuck? Why are you stagnant? Why are you not able to get back up? Why has this hit you harder than any other thing? And I realized it wasn't just this, it wasn't just the situation I was going through at the time that was hitting me hard. It was everything else that had happened. Every tear that I cried that I couldn't speak about, every worry that I had, every fear that I had, the rejections, the abandonment, the seeking of validation, everything that I had to deal with that I didn't deal with because I was sweeping it under the carpet. I was putting the mask on and thinking that as long as I can do, nobody's going to know. I'll be okay. But the body, like a book, I can't remember who wrote the book, but they wrote this book called The Body Keeps Scores. The body keeps scores. And after a while, if you don't take that pause, the body will take that pause for you. Like it did for me in a very, I say it was a rude awakening, but it did that for me. And so
Yeah.
you cannot, you may be able to do it the first time, the second time, the third time, maybe up to the 100th time. But after a while, the body is keeping that score and
Yeah.
that body will pause you. And what I don't want people to come to is, for me, I felt like in this season, I was at the peak of whatever I was doing. I'm a founder for Therapy with God. I'm a founder for Chosen. I'm doing some amazing things. I'm connecting with amazing people. And I'm thinking, hey, this is it. Is that season of rising. I'm doing the stuff that I've
Yeah.
always waited for, prayed for. But here I am, couldn't do any. The work, like becoming a consultant social worker, is something I've been working on, waiting on, growing in. And I could not even enjoy that process because I just had to be stopped because I refused to stop. And so you don't want to wait till you are in your season of manifesting. You don't want to wait until you're in the season where everything is now coming together and then your body pauses you. You pause first, recognize what it is that is going on, deal with it. Why am I crying? Sometimes people cry
Yeah.
and they never ask the questions. It may
Yeah.
be happy tears, that's fine. But as long as you can find the source, deal with it. Because also one of the things that I've learned in therapy is that our emotions have channels. So it's not just one,
Hmm.
it has different channels. So you could be feeling afraid, that's one channel. But from that channel of fear, there could be 5 other channels. And then you come to another layer, and it could be one situation that you have fear, you may have negative thoughts or whatever, but all of these major channels have other channels. So it's about recognizing, okay, if I'm crying, why am I crying? Is it tears of joy? If I'm crying, is it sadness? Where is it coming from? What's happening? Pause, recognize it, acknowledge it. Then now you can bounce back.
So I got lost because I got mesmerized by the vision you just gave me. I was like, Joyce has just gotten into her spirit again. Thank you. Thank you so much. I was just literally putting myself into so many phases, going back in my journey as well. When you said pause, and I was thinking that I went through this phase where, when things just hit you and then you just realize, okay, I need to just be brave for the family. So you take on this tough front, and yet within you're literally like, I don't know,
crying
if
out.
you need to be realigned, and that pause is needed so you
Yeah.
can be true to yourself. And then you kind of keep going, and at a point, like you rightly said, you start feeling it either with your health. Like you mentioned how our emotions are expressed in various ways. This is good to know. So thank you so much. And I'm sure others would admit or kind of give themselves the chance to reflect on what is their way of expressing themselves.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your body will do it for you.
It will. It will. And you don't want it to catch you out.
No, you don't want it to. Obviously, you are very successful. You're so busy. So, as a consultant, social worker, and director, you witness resilience tested every day. How has your professional experience shaped your personal understanding of well-being?
That is an interesting one. So it shaped it in many different ways. One of the things I recognized quite early on was that I was in this path of seeking validation quite a lot. And I didn't recognize my abilities and what I was capable of doing, because even though I was given, and I do go above and beyond, and I'm given more than 100, I still felt like it was not enough. I still felt like my manager had to say something. The families I was working with had to say something before. And even at that, it still didn't feel enough. And so if there was a negative comment or feedback, and it doesn't even have to be personal, it could have
Yeah,
just been something that is a generic thing about the system, or, the status of the organization or whatever. I would take that quite literally, and I would, run run with that as though, I am the organization, I am the one who puts the policies in place and things like that. So earlier on I recognized that, but I didn't know how to manage that in a space of, okay, my mental health is being affected here. Like, let's talk about this seriously. And so from my work point of view, I did not do the needful in the sense of have these conversations about secondary trauma. I didn't have these conversations about being threatened, being abused, being, not getting insight from above and all of these kind of stuff. Because again, I just felt like all of that had to do with me. Joyce, if you're not performing, that's on you. But I've come to realize, no, it's not. We're a team, we're an organization. I can do everything I can do within my power, but there is also the responsibility of others. So it really disrupted my view of the management systems in organizations. It disrupted my views of relationships, because I was thinking, no, as long as you're going above and beyond for somebody, you know, everything
yeah,
should be positive. Everything should be like thumbs up and stuff like that. But it didn't happen. And when that didn't happen, it really would impact on me all the time. Like, I would be venting all the time. And I think also it's because I grew up in the Gambia, West Africa, and I've seen women, yeah, I've seen mothers with newborn babies carrying on their heads, going to the market, breastfeeding as they're trying to sell fish and tomatoes and peppers. I've seen my grandparents, my aunts working and looking after the home, looking after the children, looking after the husbands. I have seen my grandmother, because we didn't have enough at some point, turning, stews into like delicious dishes to just make it, put it all together. I've not seen her cry. Pardon me, I didn't see her complain. I didn't see her say, "Oh, this is not my role. This is not my responsibility. I just saw her get on. I just saw her get on. And so in my work, in my home, with relationships outside of my home, I just felt like my role is to just get on, you know? And so I didn't know any different. And now my body is telling me, but you can't carry that. And I'm thinking, no, I can. My body's like, no, you can't. Have a conversation with your husband, have a conversation with your son, have a conversation with your siblings, have a conversation with your parents. You can't carry that. Have a conversation with your manager because you can't carry that. But I'm thinking, no, I can. I can. I didn't see anybody stop. I didn't see any women stop. I must do. So, so the shaping of, okay, now this is not me. This is other people, and I have to create the space for other people to do what they have to do, or else sometimes people will take advantage and just say, Joyce got it. Yeah, Joyce will do it. Yeah, let's send her to Timbuktu. She will go. She won't complain. She has a child, but she won't complain. She will find some way. I could talk about this topic over and over again because up until I came to a place where I physically couldn't do anything and had to pause, I didn't realize that my well being was greatly impacted by the roles and responsibilities that I carried out. And trying to pause and understand where that came from, I realized that it came from what I'd seen, how I grew up. Women don't pause, women just get on with it. I've seen women who go to the market to sell with their babies on their back. Then they shop to come home and cook with the baby on the back. Then they cook and prepare the meal and take the meal to go and serve the husband who might be working or might just be sitting down drinking what we call a taya in Gambia. And then wait for them to finish, take the bowl back, wash it, then go back to the market with the baby on their back, sell, come back, repeat the same thing.
Yeah.
So then there is a forming of
Yeah.
perspective, a perception that only would take a pause to realize that that's not healthy. I've normalized that because I've seen it, but that's not healthy. But I've also seen people die from it.
Absolutely. Our culture can affect us, our environment can affect us, and sometimes you can't even tell where it originated from because it's probably was so embedded in your early years that it falls into the normal stuff, what you put as normal, except that that's where the problem started from,
Yeah.
being normalized in your early years. And again, I remember last year at the Therapy with God, where I attended the one you organized, how transformational it was. And
Mm,
I genuinely hope that more people would take advantage of therapy. Therapy with God was awesome.
yeah.
And yeah, it goes a long way to allow yourself to actually be the center of you for a moment and allowing yourself to connect with the one that created
Yeah.
you as well, who can help fix the layer within that has the
Mm.
damage, right?
I always say sitting at the center of the emotional control. He's the only one that can do that,
Yes,
you know?
yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing such personal journey stories as well. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the audience will relate and allow themselves to also be vulnerable with themselves and look at where in their past or their own journeys they could pick up on what can be addressed. So, for someone currently navigating adversity and feeling stuck, what is one small practical step they can take to begin that process of pausing and acknowledging their experience?
I think for some people, you might just need to take a step back. And it could be a day, it could be half a day, it could be a couple of hours, but do something that is away from the noise, away from the crowd. Do something that you don't normally do because it, it, it will just remove the distractions for you to just be able to face yourself. And as I'm saying that, I'm realizing that a lot of people don't want to face themselves. Like, it's as though you are your worst enemy. You know, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're thinking, what are you doing to me? But you're looking back at yourself. But it's important to face yourself, have that conversation, that honest conversation with yourself, and say, where am I going with this? If I continue this way, where am I going? Where am I going to end up? You know, what is life going to look like for me? We're talking about career. We're talking about, developing legacies, building legacies, and all of that. If you're not able to complete it, if you're not able to finish it, if you're not able to be here to see it, then all that time has just gone. I've watched people start things, but are no more here to actually see the effect of it. And then nobody else is even picking it up to continue it. But they dedicated their lives to that. They gave their time to it. So it's not about don't build a legacy. It's not about don't build your career. By all means, do that. But do that from a place where you recognize and acknowledge those things that could have a negative impact on you so that you're not caught unawares. So take time out. And that's why I love having therapy with God at a particular time of the year. And I like to just make it that retreat because people in my community, people that look like me, oftentimes don't just say, hey, I'm going to spend this amount on myself in this year to just go somewhere by myself or maybe with a couple of good, positive people and just sit back and just relax and enjoy the fruit of my labor. Some people are trying to save. Some people are trying to build back home, but then they're struggling here. They're not having time for themselves. Who knows the hour that death will knock on our doors? We don't. So if we can do something for ourselves now, do it. Another thing is journaling. Journal. Put down your thoughts. Put down what you're feeling. Think about where it's coming from. You might be able to do that on your own. Some things that you're able to process on your own. Some things you might not be able to process on your own. So get help. Go to therapy. I always say on my DP, there's go to therapy so your children don't have to. Go to therapy so that your grandchildren don't have to. Go to therapy. It's not a taboo. It's not weakness. It's not, an inability. No, it's a protective factor. It's preventing something from going wrong. So go to therapy if you can't process it yourself. Do something. Have something you can look forward to at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, in the middle of the year. Just have something you can look forward to that's just for you.
Thank you. And I'm glad you've mentioned therapy with God again, because I was going to say we should definitely put the links out when you've got it all set for this year's, because it's just once a year
It is
audience. You
once a
better
year.
know it's healing. It's you get in touch with yourself in the very healthy space.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So I'll definitely encourage anyone who's interested to connect with Joyce on LinkedIn and all the other social media spaces as well. And I'm sad to say we're going on to our closing question. So looking back on your own journey, what is the most powerful lesson resilience has taught you?
It's not the absence of challenges. It's not the absence of not being able to pause. Because a lot of the times, like I say, we say resilience is the ability to bounce back, but people don't think about how do I bounce back? Am I just moving forward? So for me, I've had to come to accepting that just because I'm in my pause season, just because I'm in that moment where I cannot do a lot of the things that I used to do and move the way I used to move, it doesn't mean that I'm not resilient. And I say this because somebody said to me the other day, having a meeting with me, and they were saying to me, it is within your gift to build resilience. And I said, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because that person might be seeing resilience as, if you have resilience, then you need to be able to, let's get on with it. But no, it's not the absence of just not being able to get on with it. I'm not able to get on with it. I'm going to park it and I'm going to deal with that. And I think my biggest lesson has just been that, Joyce, you can pause. You don't have to keep going. You don't have to be there for everybody. You don't have to always say yes. I know my sisters will be jumping for this one. You don't have to always say yes. You don't always have to be doing, you know. And even though I feel like I'm pausing, a lot of people don't see it because they're like, okay, one way or another, you're finding things that you could help out with. But that's just in my nature of helping out. But I'm very much aware of the fact that there's certain things I can't do right now. And I just need to sit back. But accepting that has been one of the biggest lessons. And how to do that has been one of the biggest lessons for me.
Thank you so much, Joyce, Director of Chosen and consultant social worker. It's been an amazing chat, and I'm really excited that our audience will see the value of this conversation, which is part of our International Women's Day special series for the Queen's Couch podcast. So, on that note, Joyce, thank you so much for that deeply thoughtful conversation.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. You've reminded us that resilience isn't about constant motion. It's about intentional reflection and gentle strength. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is pause before we proceed. So to our listeners, may you find space this week to pause, acknowledge your journey, and move forward with compassion for yourself. Thank you for joining us on the Global Queens podcast. And until next time, see you soon.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.